What's up, everybody? So today we're going to look at something that 90% of people and 90% of athletes are not training. And this is a system they use every day and is the cornerstone of every system they do actually train. So what am I talking about? Well, as you can probably guess, if you do follow me, you know what system we're about to talk about. But what is interesting is when we come to training and training procedures, we do lots of plyometrics, lots of strength training, lots of conditioning training. Um, but what we really need to be thinking about is this underlying system, which weaves its way through all these systems when it comes to strength and conditioning. So we're talking about muscles when it comes to conditioning on the pitch for sprints and et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to plyometrics, when we're putting our body under loads in awkward positions and moving it in explosive ways. This system underlines all of that, and we need to be using it more. And that's why I thought I should highlight it with these next few clips. So why does it matter about improving breathing? Well, like I said, 90% of athletes at all levels, from grassroots all the way to professional, don't do any breath work or have very limited access or usage of any breath work. And this leads to a lot more higher dysfunctional breathing in athletes. So using the mouth, breathing in the upper chest, which also means poor breathing mechanics, so poor movement. So there leads to variations in those movements on the pitch. But first and foremost, like you can see on this slide right here, it's just not taught to footballers, and it's not taught to anyone really when it comes to breathing. When you were in school and you were told to sit there and look at the whiteboard and focus, no one taught you how to actually focus. They just kept saying the word to you and hoping that repetitivity of a word would then help and force you to be able to do the thing. But actually implementing breathing, having functional breathing, is going to lead to better focus, better oxygenation of the brain, the muscles, and lead you to get into things like the flow state, which we'll talk about later. So this is why I think it's really important. And yeah, I think this is often overlooked because we just simply don't teach it. But the gains are on the table there for those that do implement it. In this next clip, we're going to talk about something that often it comes up quite a lot and is a bit of a hidden secret, a bit of a taboo, don't discuss, don't admit to when I'm coaching people, but actually is very true to their performance. So this is very interesting. What we're looking at here is the first 5 to 10 minutes. Most people will tell you or will not tell you and won't want to admit it, that actually it takes them 5 to 10 minutes to actually get into a game of football and actually be focused on what they're doing. And football waits for no one. Those first 5 to 10 minutes, you concede, you're 1-0 down because you made a silly mistake, because you've made a silly defensive mistake. Maybe you're not taking opportunity of a goal scoring opportunity. And then you're 1-0 down and you're kicking yourself because it's taken you 5 to 10 minutes. And this is all about focusing, being able to keep calm, have stress management tools going into the game. And as we're going to talk about here, good habits are done off the pitch in the off season. Implementation of things like breathing exercises, like we saw on the first slide, implementation of these in the early pre-seasons help bring these building blocks so that we can bring this in so that you are focused from minute one of the game. And then this is where you see those great goals that are scored within under a minute or within the first 5 minutes, and then get your team on that front foot for the remainder of the game. This is something that's really important that, yeah, first 5 to 10 minutes is super important, as the last 15 is as well. This is what can make or break in your win or your loss in a game. As I said earlier, we're going to talk about something that is very important when it comes to flow states. Flow state being that kind of sense of everything just happens automatically. You make good decisions. That recall of a situation that's happened before happens instantly, and you can react a lot quicker. You can make replays a lot quicker from your own team and your other team as well, your opponents, and also that spatial awareness opens up a lot more. Yeah, so this next clip, we're going to actually talk about this quite specifically. When it comes to using breathing, breathing is the best way to get into this flow state. This breathing is the best way to refocus. Maybe you don't suffer with anxiety. Some players do, some players don't. Maybe you find it quite stressful going into game. Maybe you don't. It's different for everyone. But what connects everyone is breathing. Breathing regulates all of this. And you can consciously manipulate this subconscious mechanisms such as the nervous system by manipulating your breathing. which is a conscious decision that you can manipulate your breathing, and this will manipulate that subconscious of the nervous system to get you out of that fight or flight into that rest and digest. And by rest, we're not meaning sitting up, having some pizzas and beers, watching a movie. We mean being calm, control, focus in that flow state. Like we just said, that flow state being that state where everything comes to you, that spatial awareness opens up, the understanding of plays, listening to your coach, taking in information, the working memory, etc., etc., all starts to work a lot better. And this is what we really want to be talking about here, is breathing and your flow state, your mental state. Okay, this next slide, I'm going to tell you a mind-blowing fact that I always think about from time to time, that most people are going to miss. But yeah, this is the next one is the one you're going to want to clip and replay, because this one will blow your mind. When it comes to aerobic and anaerobic, most people think that you slip out of aerobic and you go anaerobic later in the game, which is where the lactic acid builds up and stuff like that. It's where you use more glycogen instead of oxygen. This is kind of a drilled in myth in us, because yes, you use more glycogen when you're anaerobic, but you're still using oxygen. And the percentageal differences can be 0.3, 0.7. In the air I'm breathing right now, in the air you're breathing watching this video, there's about 20.8% of that air is actually going to be oxygen, and your body's only going to utilize maybe 4% of it, maybe 5% of it if you've got a bit of a bigger engine or you're a bit more efficient already in your engine naturally. And when you perform at your best, when you're sprinting at your best, making good decisions, hitting the ball at your best, these are all done in the aerobic state. So when you go anaerobic, you're not going to perform as well. But the percentage difference in this, like I said before, is maybe 0.3, 0.7%. So you're using slightly less oxygen, and glycogen's making up the difference, but you're still using oxygen. So the key thing here, and the thing to always remember, the thing to clip right now and replay right now, is that you need to keep yourself aerobic for as long as possible. And using breathing programs can mean that you can bump up that initial 4% usage to maybe 5, maybe 6. Some people get to 7. And this means you stay aerobic for a lot longer into the game. Also is the ability then to reset to that aerobicness by making your system efficient to get back to an aerobic state as well. Yeah, this is something I find very, very interesting, that is often just overlooked, or a myth that most people are talking about or say to you when it comes to your strength and conditioning, or etc., etc., that they just miss. Okay, this next clip, we're going to talk about the third gas, the gas that no one's talking about, no one really fully understands. If you say it, you sound like a biohacker or as too woo-woo, but actually, this is a crucial component to really performing at your best, and also giving your immune system a good shot at getting rid of any viruses and things you might pick up, colds and influenzas, etc., to keeping you performing at your best. Also, talking about sleep, talking about vasodilation, that the opening up of those blood vessels to get good oxygenated blood around your body. Yeah, watch this. The third gas, as we were saying here, is nitric oxide. Now, we're not talking about those balloons or those little chrome little bottles you see people huffing. It's nitric oxide, but what we're talking about is natural nitric oxide. And when you're doing nasal breathing, the bacterium in your nose, your nasal cavity, actually produce nitric oxide. And this is the first domino for a lot of different systems in terms of the immune system, in terms of the vasodilation. It doesn't cross, it doesn't cross in huge amounts into the bloodstream, and it has a short half-life as well. But what it does do is create that first domino effect. So if you have good nitric oxide production, obviously you can do this nasally by breathing through your nose, but there is obviously a dietary component as well that you can consider. Eating things like, you'll see footballers, you're probably yourself, as taking those little beet shots and stuff like that. These all produce nitric oxide. But you can actually do this through your nose, so you can have a constant supply of this and get that constant effect. And so if you're breathing through your nose, the first domino effect is it comes in through your nose, you reduce more nitric oxide, you then pull that down into your lungs. And that tends to get, when you're breathing through your nose, it gets down into that lower lobes of the lungs where you have the more alveoli that can then absorb this alongside oxygen. it helps then to offload the CO2, helps unload oxygen, and then helps dilate those blood vessels so that everything can get to where it should be as efficiently as possible. This is often a gas that's overlooked because it seems like the effects are minimal, but its effect in of itself, if you is maybe slightly more minimal because the half-life is less, but what we really want to be thinking about, and the really key thing to take away here, is it is the first domino in a lot of other systems. So it's often overlooked, but very beneficial to you as an athlete. Okay, I hope I've covered everything there in enough detail and it all makes sense. Um, I'm doing these YouTube videos between working and stuff like that and coaching, so I'm trying to get it in. This is why I'm often out in the wild whilst I'm filming these. But I hope you got a sense of what I do, and when it comes to you as a footballer, you as a general athlete, as an athlete in another sport, that there is a benefit to having someone like me turn up to your session or training you and doing a session with you to coach breathing, because there is a benefit that you are missing gains left on the table by not having a breathing program. This is a subject I find super interesting. I don't want to bore you for hours about it, even though I could. Jump on a call with me and I will talk to you about hours of it. Don't tempt me too much if you want to do that, because I will buy your hand off to talk about hours about this kind of stuff. But this is the interesting subject, and the things I think people overlook, and the things that when I was learning it blew my mind. When I think to the aerobic anaerobic situation, the third gas situation, like these are things that blow my mind when I listened to them first time, or heard them and learned them first time. So yeah, I just think I find it super interesting. So I just thought I want to share. This is an extract from another presentation that I do to professional footballers and professional athletes in football, football teams, should I say. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you some cool little bits from it, so you can maybe get a little understanding of what I'm doing when I'm presenting to football teams and football organizations. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe. It costs you nothing, but means the world to me. Like it before you go. If you didn't like this video, like it before you go. All that stuff means the world to me, and obviously helps me build the channel as well and get more exposure to this great subject that I really, really want people to get involved with and get training in, is their breathing. So yeah, I hope you've liked this video, and I will see you all on the next one.